Welcome back to Two-Tone Tony's Garage. Did a little name change just kind of differentiate from me and Uncle Tony's Garage. So now it's Two-Tone Tony's Garage. Well, because of the two-tone mustache, vitiligo. It's pretty awesome. So anyway, we're back on my 1990 Dodge Ramcharger. I had some of my parts pop in from Rock Auto, so I'm going to try to go ahead and get the cap, rotors, plug, wires on there and whatnot. And try to get the thing running a little better. I have a little bit of training line I got to put on it, so that way we don't have the training leak anymore. The only thing that didn't come in was my actual oil, so I can't change the oil yet, and then my thermostat housing and new thermostat. But I guess that'll let me see if the thermostat was actually the problem when the thing broke down in the first place. Once I get the new hoses on it, I can sit here and I guess see if the thermostat opens and if the fluids are cycling like they're supposed to. So my son's going to go ahead and help me, and we're going to start changing cap, rotor plugs, wires first. Then we'll move on to fixing the training line and putting the hoses on. Alright, here, so first we're going to start by taking this air cleaner off. I already got it unscrewed from the other day. I don't know if the hoses are still hooked up. I know this one here is. See if I can get it popped off here. One-handed is not the most easy thing to do it. There we go. Alright. The other hoses. This one down here. You got to be careful too, pulling hoses off the throttle body on these. I've snapped these little nipples off on different throttle bodies multiple times, and then you're kind of SOL, so be careful doing that. Learn from my mistakes, don't make your own. Of course, this is being pretty dang stubborn. There it goes. Alrighty. There is a little bit of a mess. You can tell the mices are in here a little bit. Some of this stuff has to get cleaned out. I did notice once I got it home, I have this hose, which we'll see where this goes, but it looks like a big vacuum leak. I'm not sure. Let's see where exactly that goes. So it goes into a bunch of other vacuum lines. So it's supposed to be hooked up somewhere. We'll have to figure out where that goes. I also noticed when I got home, this thing was throwing lightning like Thor. Thing snapped clean off. So it was only running on 7. Wasn't running good anyway, but running on 7 obviously makes it even worse. So these things are much needed to be swapped over here. So I think these plugs, they're RN12YC champion plug, platinum, no, copper plus, gap to 035, and they're a 13/16 socket. So I'm gonna have my baby boy jump in here. I'm gonna pop these loose. I'm gonna have him start pulling the plugs out of it. So when people do spark plug wires and whatnot, some people just do one at a time. But since I'm doing cap, rotor, and everything, I'm just doing all at once. I'm just unplugging every single spark plug. When you do that, you got to be careful, know where to start when you put your new ones back on. If not, you're going to end up with messing your firing order up, and you're going to be struggling trying to figure out how to retime it, so on and so forth. What I do is find the number 1 plug wire, which is right here, front left plug, and I just take a note of where the number 1 is on the new cap. Then I just follow the firing order to put all those other spark plugs wires where they belong. Also, another fun fact, this one here was just barely sitting on it, so it wasn't really arcing either. So might have been running on 6 cylinders. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull these wires off and start popping these spark plugs loose. Alright, so I got the cap and plug wires off and the rotor off. I was going to show you the distributor down here real quick. on these fuel injected 318s, these throttle body injections, I think they're 88 to 92 before they go to the Magnum. They have what's called a Hall effect sensor down there in the distributor. And those things will give you all kinds of fits as far as like not putting fuel to the motor, so on and so forth. If that sensor's bad, it's like a crank sensor on a modern engine. So if I don't get this thing running correctly, after I do plugs, wires, and everything else I'm going to do to it, we're going to come back and we're going to check that sensor down in there, possibly replace it, clean the distributor, and we'll also check these injectors and see if that's a problem. All right, buddy, go ahead and buzz them off. Make sure you got it on loosen. You got it on loosen?
I don't know.
Yep, okay, here. You probably can maybe take the extension off and we'll use it if we need to. All right. Where'd that spark plug go, bud? Thank you. Let's see what these look like. Really not too horrible. They do reek of bad gas, but a little rich probably, but I don't see any oil deposits or anything. Go ahead and take that extension off, bud. Alrighty. That one. Ooh, and then see that one there. Of course, I guess this one here, I forgot. This is one that the wire was broke to, so I'd explain a little bit lean. This one here, or sorry, so I explain a little bit rich. This one here looks lean. See the white there? And it looks like even possibly it's got a crack down there on the porcelain. And this one looks lean a little bit as well. It could also use a little more timing. See how it's only burned down to the corner? It could have a couple more degrees time put in it, which would get it down here closer to the threads. And then this one here is super rich and nasty. So it's kind of weird. I wonder if it's just because maybe the wires are bad or the cap or something. For some reason it seems like we're not getting equal spark to the cylinders possibly. Alright, bud. We're going to go ahead and do this side here. And do not use the impact to put them back in, even though it's a little 3/8 impact, but it's just a lot quicker getting them out. Ooh, that one's got some crud on it and not too good. This one's not horrible, but still looks a little lean, maybe. Not crazy lean, but maybe a little bit. I'm not sure I can get this impact in the back here. Alright, I'm gonna have to switch to a hand ratchet, so I'll let you see what those ones look like when I get them out. Alright, I got the back two out. You can see this would be number 5 is a little lean, but then 7 a little rich, so, and a little oil maybe. So we're gonna go ahead and start putting other plugs in and then throwing our new wires on here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and have my son start pulling some plugs out here. Go ahead, buddy. And we're gonna pull out one at a time, check the gap. Should be right there, 035. Hold it up, bud, so I can see the other side. You want them to just kind of slide in pretty easily, and it does if I can get it to line up good, but a little tight, so, but it's good to go. We'll start threading these in, and then we'll get these wires done here. All right, so here's a good reason to check your gaps. As I'm going through these boxes, these ones here, someone must have dropped them at some point or something, and both gaps are closed up. Obviously, if you just put that straight in there, it's not going to fire. So as you're putting these in, make sure you gap them, check them. A little 10-year-old mechanic getting her done. Alright, I'm gonna have him tighten all these up so I got them started in, and we'll be ready for the wires here. Alright, here, so we're gonna go ahead and put this new rotor on. It can only go on one way. You can see it's got a little notch in there, so you can't put it the wrong way. As long as it's seated down, that is. There it is, see, it's nice and seated. Then we got our new cap. We'll get it put on. It also has a little notch, so it can only go on one way. Properly, that is. Fill these little tabs up. Which I may have to put the camera down to do that, because they're not the easiest thing to snap back on, but actually I did get them back on. They're right down here. Those are what hold the actual cap on. And see, this one here, I checked before I took it apart, is your number 1, which would be the front left here. It goes 1, 3, 5, 7. This side is 2, 4, 6, 8. And it'll be 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 2, I think. Let me double check. I wrote it down over here. Yeah, 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. Went ahead and wrote it all out. This rotor goes clockwise. So when you do it, you'll go, 1, then 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. So it'll go clockwise. So that's your order, firing order, 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. That's how the actual motor is, 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the wires on in order, and obviously I'll have to mess with whichever ones are whatever length, but I'll get that taken care of. And then we're on to replacing radiator hoses and the training hose. Alright, so I got all of the wires put back on. We're good to go there. So now I'm going to get below here and try to figure out my transmission line. You can see all the fluid here on the ground, but I can see it leaking at one of these two right there, it looks like. So I'm going to replace this rubber line, and while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and hit this other one too, just so that way we're not puking training fluid everywhere. Hopefully that takes care of that problem. Alright, so you can see down there those nice shiny new clamps. Got the new training lines on. One on that side, one on the other. This side was kind of a pain in the neck because of this location here. That was easy, but that was a little more difficult. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and get this upper radiator hose off. For now, we're just going to put the top one on. We're not going to mess with the bottom one quite yet until I get the new thermostat and housing. That way I can do it all at once. I just want to get some water in it right now because I actually want to flush the system anyway. So when I get full of water, let it run a little bit. Then when I change the thermostat, I'll go ahead and change the lower hose and flush the system out. But let me go ahead and get this one off. Alright, so I had to trim off about an inch of hose here, but I got the clamps back on. Should be good to go. I'll go ahead and fill it up with some water. Don't have to let it run. Obviously get all the bubbles out of the system. Hopefully it runs long enough here where I can start putting tranny fluid in the transmission, see if we got that problem figured out. Before I even started, I'm going to add at least a couple of quarts of tranny fluid to it, to make sure we're not burning up the clutches or the torque converter or whatever from it running the pump. So, oh, and also, I realized what this hose is for, and I kind of feel embarrassed about it, but it goes to that little valve, but for some reason that valve's missing, so I gotta get one of them. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and fire this up, add water to it, and throw some training fluid in it before I do any of that, and we'll go from there. Alright, let's see here. I haven't fired this thing in a couple days, so we'll see if this thing takes off for me like I need it to. Before I did that, like I said, I went ahead and added 2 quarts of training fluid, and I threw a can of this Berryman's in the tank. Old vice grips use that stuff, and I started using it instead of seafoam in the last couple years, and it works out pretty good. So I'm going to cycle the key a couple times here, see if we can't prime the throttle bodies a little bit, see if she'll pop off. Hopefully it runs a lot better with these new plugs and wires. Sounds a lot better. Have to add some more water. We'll have to take a closer look at those injectors later, but so far it sounds a lot better. I did get a little bit of water where they kind of blew some water out of that, but when I was filling it up, but sounds pretty decent. We're going to throw it in neutral here, and we'll check some training fluid. Probably should look underneath of it real quick, make sure it isn't dripping either. Looks pretty good. Alright, I'm going to throw another quart of training fluid in it, then we'll check it. I forgot to say too, one of the big reasons I'm nervous, today I went to go drive this thing home, put it in drive and it made a big clunk. And at first it was kind of working in drive, but it was killing the motor, and then after that it wouldn't go into drive at all. So I'm hoping once I get this fluid in it, drive will work again. If not, we might be pulling a transmission out of this thing. Okay, so despite the fact that I had this thing up and running, I seem to still be having issues where out of nowhere it'll die once it's warmed up. So I'm pretty sure this sensor in here that I mentioned earlier is bad. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out. It's just got 2 screws on each side of the distributor. I have to rotate the distributor just a little bit to get to both screws. So make sure you mark where the distributor's at so you can put it back where it belongs. Alright, so it's a little later in the day. I went ahead and got that sensor put in there. Everything's back together. It's running a lot better. Took it out for a little test drive in my pasture, and seems to run pretty good. Still need to figure out this transmission problem. I think I'm going to go ahead and swap it out probably tomorrow. But this thing's running good enough now that threw up a few rooster tails, got a little muddy, which now I got to clean it again, so it kind of cancels out my last cleaning video, but I had to make sure that it wasn't going to bog and cut out and die. But seems to be up and running good, doing what it's supposed to do. Overall, sitting 10 years in the field, it's pretty exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to getting this transmission put in it so that way I can actually take it out on an actual drive. Obviously you can only do one thing at a time, so many hours in a day, so we'll just have to get that done later. Alright, so as you can see for now, like I said, I am done with this thing for right now until I get this tranny swapped out. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that tomorrow. See what the day brings. Hopefully I can get it swapped out pretty good. It's an A518. It sucks that it went out because it is an overdrive transmission. But, you know, things happen. I'm assuming it was already going out. If you watch my first video when I revived this truck, I put it in drive and made a loud pop, bang. Now it doesn't have second or drive. First and reverse still works. So I'm guessing I broke a band or something, or maybe burned a clutch up inside the transmission. But I luckily already have a horde of Dodge parts, which is a really good thing. And so I'm just going to swap transmissions out. We'll get this thing on the road. Hopefully I can get it all done tomorrow by myself when the kids are at school, being my day off. You know, Dad at home in the shop by himself, you know, get some stuff done. But hopefully get it going so I can take my kids for a ride, enjoy the truck, and we'll just have to see what happens. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and put it up for the night. It's been a long couple days working on this thing. I appreciate you guys watching. Please like, subscribe, watch my next videos. Hopefully I'm entertaining. Maybe I'm not, but if nothing else, hopefully you learn something. So again, I appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.